They watch something on Instagram and they consider that to be the Bible.
What is the difference between baby blues and actually postpartum depression?
There are studies that show that it impacts the breast milk also because the mother's cortisol levels are up.
Okay.
When are you taking a shower? She told me, no, I take a shower once in 3 or 4 days. And I was like, oh my God. Every time you hear something from your joint family, please go back to your pediatrician. That should be your source of validation. Comparing is like slow poisoning.
Why is therapy so expensive? Yeah, no problem.
Hello?
This mic.
Hello? Hello?
No, but she's not going to talk like this. Huh? She'll
Hello?
be facing me and talking.
Hello?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. Hello?
Hello and welcome to Matcha with Mama. In today's episode, I'm excited to welcome Komal, a counseling psychology expert, mind-body medicine practitioner, and wellness coach. Komal is dedicated to helping mothers prioritize their mental health and well-being while navigating the challenges of motherhood. We'll discuss practical self-care strategies, managing stress, and fostering emotional intelligence in our children. So let's dive in and learn from Komal's insights. Welcome, Komal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking out your time and being with us today. Do you have any personal experiences with relation to motherhood and mental health that made you come into this field?
What is coming to my mind right now is while I was pregnant, I decided to take a break from work. I used to be a fine jewelry designer then. But I wanted to, spend all my time and give my 100% to my child. And to me, that translated to being physically there for my child 24/7. So I did that. I didn't have any guilt. As she grew up and I started thinking about going back to work, somehow going back to designing didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
And what I was drawn to, at that time, an opportunity presented itself to volunteer at a cancer hospice. So I started doing that, and that was the space, a place I would say that, I saw, I observed counselors coming in, working with the patients, and I became very curious as to what they were doing. And slowly I learned from them that this could be a profession.
Okay.
And with their encouragement and support, I started, studying psychology. I shifted gears completely.
Wow.
And here I am today. I think motherhood changes you in so many ways. It changes you as a human being. It changes your worldview. It expands your frame of reference. And I think in general we are very dynamic. So if I would like to tell all the mothers, if it makes sense to you to change gears, please go ahead and do that. There shouldn't be any rules saying, okay, you have to do what you were doing. I know so many people who've done that.
Right.
Maybe they were working in the corporate sector and they become entrepreneurs now, or so many different things, or they've gotten into art, etc.
Right.
So I think it's perfectly all right.
No, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it's very important, firstly, for mothers to know that it's okay to take a break.
Yes.
It's okay to shift gears. And look at you now, you're here helping so many mothers. Can you tell us what is the difference between baby blues and actually postpartum depression? And also things in between, right? And how does a new mother recognize that?
Baby blues is something that probably lasts for about 2 weeks post delivery, and that is attributed to hormonal changes, life transition, so many factors. Like you have your PMS, etc. However, if that goes on for beyond 2-3 weeks, then we need to start paying attention.
Okay.
Right? And we need to look out for signs and symptoms of postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. Usually one follows the other.
Okay.
Depression and anxiety.
Okay.
Sometimes if you're anxious for a very long time, it's usually depression follows, and vice versa.
Okay.
So it's very similar to the usual signs of depression and anxiety, like having mood swings, being withdrawn, losing interest, and sometimes even losing interest in bonding with the baby, losing interest in social life, not having that kind of enthusiasm, feeling low on energy,
Okay.
not being able to sleep or oversleeping, feeling fatigued all the time.
Okay.
These are some of the signs and symptoms. And if they persist for more than 3 to 4 weeks, we need to really start paying attention and seeing what's wrong,
Okay.
and maybe taking help.
Okay.
And maybe, speaking to even your gynecologist or the pediatrician, right?
Okay.
And taking it from there.
Okay. Okay. So just sharing your symptoms of this is how I'm feeling.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. See, sleep is one of the biggest pillars of mental health, right? And usually, we, at least me, and I think a lot of doctors also do that. They advise the mothers to sleep when the baby is napping during the day.
Right.
But some of them are not able to do that. So you don't have a good night's sleep. You're not able to nap during the day or get some sleep during the day. So this is also one of the signs.
How important is self-care for mothers? And what are some practical self-care strategies?
I think self-care is foremost, because you have to learn to fill your own cup first. Especially if you want to take care of your child, you can't pour from an empty cup. Right? So self-care is foremost. So, the most important, the key word here is permission. Give yourself permission to take support, all kinds of support. So a lot of mothers or working mothers, they plan for delivery. They say, okay, we will get this much of leave, maternity leave, paternity leave. But to take steps at a micro day-to-day level, to go through the day and say, okay, I will need this support system, and to readily accept or establish those support systems even before delivery.
Okay.
Right. For example, you might need an extra help at home because you may not have your parents or your in-laws coming over. So maybe, or even if they are, you may need an additional staff at home. You may need your husband to take care, of the child in the night. So you may have to ask someone to help you through the day if you're going through some distress. Even in these micro ways, it's okay to ask and take support. And don't completely neglect yourself throughout the day. I remember I used to read. So when my baby would nap, she would sleep through the night. So I was lucky that way.
Okay.
And then I that me time was reading. Reading is my passion. I love to read.
Okay.
So I would take out at least 15-20 minutes to do something that I really like. But these days I see a lot of women, they start scrolling.
Right.
Now that only will exacerbate your symptoms. If it's limited to 5 to 10 minutes, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly on the phone,
Right.
there are these WhatsApp support groups, parent mothers groups.
Yeah.
Then there's Instagram and all the other social media. And in fact, I have some clients reporting to me that we can't help it. When the minute we get a break, we start scrolling. Now that is something that is not advisable. So when I say me time, make sure it's something healthy that makes you feel energized.
Right.
That you are able to receive from, rather than something that is draining you further.
That's very, very good point. I think, and I'm guilty, to be honest, because 5 minutes, like, if the baby is busy, I'm just like, okay, let's just like, this is the
Yeah.
way that I can kind of release. But like you said, it's not the best
But
way.
you need to examine, are you releasing or are you, so
Yeah.
it's something for you to figure out, how am I feeling
Right.
after that duration of scrolling. Reflect for a few seconds. Am I feeling relieved? Am I feeling energized? Or I'm feeling even more exhausted?
Right.
Or I'm feeling even more anxious? Because see, one more issue I wanted to bring up is overconsumption of material. There is so much of overconsumption. Some women read books, or they watch something on Instagram or social media, and they consider that to be the Bible. Meaning they're aiming for perfection. Okay, I've read this book, I have to follow it to the T. Otherwise, I'm a bad mother, or something is off, something is wrong, something's not okay. That pressure is, it's not useful at all.
Right.
So to be able to consume material and to understand what is working for me, which part of this is useful for me, and which part is not, because maybe as per a person's context, something might be useful for them,
Right.
but for another person it might not work. So to be able to discern
Yeah.
what's useful for you and what's not useful for you, rather than blindly following stuff. And you have these support groups, so if two mothers are doing something and they're sharing something about their baby, okay, our babies have reached these milestone,
Yeah.
so the comparison starts.
Right. Right.
And comparing is like slow poisoning.
I just wanted to share my personal experience here. So I before becoming a mother, before the birth of my son, I was going through online a lot of content of how to be, the best mother I could be, and one person talks a lot about motherhood, and I thought that she was very credible. I still think, but her way of so she said that you shouldn't leave the baby unless, so if the baby is 1 year, you can leave the baby for an hour maximum. If the baby is 2 years, you can leave the baby for 2 hours. And I stuck to that for like the longest time. And I think that also kind of, made me go into this postpartum depression, where I would not leave the baby, thinking that I'll be a bad mother if I left the baby.
Exactly.
Right? So I was not taking out time for myself. I was not doing. And when my midwife said that, Deepika, you need to step out, right, by yourself, not with the baby. So initially I used to feel so guilty that, oh my God, I'm leaving the baby, right, without me, and I'm a bad mother. But I think that was so important for me to get back my sanity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great example actually of, how one can get so hooked on and, consider it to be the Bible literally of, and putting that pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
Right.
That's really unfair. And, we also try to polarize or compartmentalize as being either a good mother or a bad mother. Am I a good enough mother?
Right. Yeah.
We cannot be perfect mothers because we are not perfect human beings in the first place. So how can we be perfect mothers?
Can you also tell me if the mental health of a mother, how it affects the child's?
Yes, that's a very good question. So basically, when a child is born or even in vitro, the number one thing that is the child or the fetus requirement is attunement from a mental health perspective. So tuning into your child and is so important during those initial weeks and years to to be able to have that connect with your child. Breastfeeding is one, making eye contact or holding your child's finger while and talking to your child, cooing your child. So tuning in with your child and using all your senses to be present and available to your baby is so important. It's called attunement. Now, what happens when a mother's mental health is impacted? That attunement doesn't happen. And the baby can sense the mother's feelings,
Okay.
right? The babies, I don't want to get into too much of all of that, but a baby can sense the mother's feelings and is inferring something. We don't know what, it could be many things, but they are inferring. That's also a kind of non-verbal communication going on between the mother and child. So yes, it does impact, the child.
Right.
In fact, there are studies that are being there are studies that show that it impacts the breast milk also, because the mother's cortisol levels are
Okay.
up and down, for
Right.
example. That could be one. And so it impacts the breast milk as well.
Wow.
So being a mother is also being mindful of your own, not just physical health, but also your mental health. So a lot of women feel very conscious about their physical body,
Yeah.
body image issues. That also could be one of the contributing factors to postpartum depression, or not being able to shed, the baby weight, or there are so many factors, not being happy with how your body looks or has become,
Right.
and not having time for their own fitness, and then getting worried about that. All these are also contributing factors.
Okay. Can you share some techniques that mothers can use to manage stress and anxiety?
I would say don't go to Google. I would say reflect. Only you know what you need at that time. So, what is it that I need to get my mental health back in shape? Do I need support? Do I need a friend? Do I need some time for myself? What is it that I need that would help me? And of course, when it comes to techniques, there are many. There's yoga, there's breathing. Like I said, do things that you would like to do. Have some exclusive me time during the day. Take care of your own hygiene. I see a lot of mothers who, just forget to groom themselves. There's no time, during those initial months. So please start doing all of those basic things, I would say. But tuning into your baby, tuning into yourself, and be reflective. See what you need. Be brutally honest with yourself and say, okay, I hate the way my body looks. Can I speak to my partner? I want to have, half an hour of time to take care of my physical self. So can I negotiate with my family members? Can I have the baby be taken care of during that time by somebody else? So figuring those things out and prioritizing yourself, I will say, is the number one thing.
Okay. Here, I remember when I was in that, journey, and I was in deep, PPD, I did not have any idea of what I wanted. I didn't know what would help me, what would make me feel good. Like I was not even in the mind space of asking myself, okay, what do I want? Because leaving the baby, the thought of it would make me very anxious and like make me feel very guilty. And unless and until somebody else told me that, okay, you need to step out without the baby for at least an hour or two, do whatever makes you happy. So initially I started going to a cafe with my Kindle, with my book, just sit there, have a coffee. Coffee really makes me happy, right? So that's one thing that I knew that, okay, that's giving me some sort of happiness.
Yeah.
And slowly I started exercising, which made a huge difference.
Yes.
So until and unless somebody told me to do that, I had no idea, Komal, what I wanted.
Right.
But fortunately I had some people in my life who told me, Deepika, you need to step out without the baby.
Yeah.
Right? You need to do this. You need to have some mental, physical activity. And then slowly I figured that work makes me very happy.
Right.
So whatever time, I started taking out time to work. And after that, like you said, I started feeling so energized and I wanted to come back and play. you know, with
Correct.
my baby. Whereas on the other hand, I started noticing that I didn't want to, you know, handle the
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah, but this, this advice came from someone who was close to you and who was observing you,
Yeah.
and who could tell you that, hey, Deepika, you need to step out
Yeah.
without the baby.
Yeah.
Something which, tech cannot give you, right? And it seems as if you have gone too much into depression to even not know what you want.
Yeah.
But I would say yes, if you can't figure out, then take help. Speak to your doctor, speak to your family members. Go to a therapist, go to a counselor.
Also, I want to mention this because I spoke to people around me of this is how I was feeling. Some people told me that I understand, it's initially very difficult, just, stay strong. And I said, it's not helping. This advice is not helping. Somebody else told me that, yeah, I went through the same thing. But they also did not have any practical advices to give me. Okay, what I should do. What
Right.
should I do right now? I'm feeling like this. Staying strong is not a good advice. I'm sorry.
No.
Or I've gone through this, you should go through it also is not a good
No.
advice, right?
No.
So that's why I wanted to speak to an expert like you to tell
Yeah.
mothers this is what you need to do, or at least try this.
So the first thing, like I said, take time out for yourself. And it could be different things every day. What is it that I need to do with my time? Have dedicated time for yourself. Get that sleep. Sleep is so important. Sleep is very important. And I think it is important to take support from a professional, because like I said, it's very contextual. A person who is very closely associated to you or a professional will be able to understand your context, and based on that will be able to tell you what you need to do. Sleep, taking proper nutritional care, exercise, even if it's a walk, a short walk, or take walks, take a walk in breaks, 10 minutes, 3-4 parts, break it up. Break that half an hour walk into 3-4 parts and do that.
That itself is very useful, Komal,
Yeah.
for a lot of mothers, right?
Yeah.
Even to recognize that I'm not spending enough time on myself. Like taking a 2-minute shower was like, okay, like, this is it.
It
like,
felt like luxury.
yeah, it was a luxury, literally, because
Yeah.
then I had to run and I was like, okay, I can't even take a shower properly. So let aside grooming yourself. But
Yeah.
once you talk about grooming, I do recognize that whenever I used to just put myself together a little bit, I felt so much better.
Yeah. I remember working with a mother, and we were working. She suffered from postpartum anxiety, and after a few sessions, I said, "Hey, you seem to be progressing and doing all the things." And she said, "I'm still not feeling better." And then we went over her daily routine. I said, "Okay, but when are you taking a shower?" And she told me, "No, I take a shower once in 3 or 4 days." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Wow.
And that really, was a game changer.
What advice do you have for mothers on fostering emotional intelligence in their children?
As your child grows up, they need to learn to name feelings. Like, I'm feeling happy, I'm sad, to name emotions, and to give them permission to feel any emotion, because feelings are organic, right? For example, we have some contaminated beliefs like boys don't cry, or be strong, right?
Yeah.
Don't cry. I mean, if we were not supposed to cry, we wouldn't have had tear ducts, right? So actually crying is a form of release, and when we feel overwhelmed with any emotion, we tend to cry, because there's an overwhelm, and it's the body's natural mechanism to release.
Okay.
Right? And so, when we force ourselves not to do that, we are actually suppressing those emotions.
Okay.
So can we model to our children that, to be okay with all feelings? and not pressurizing them to be happy all the time. So educate them about emotions and be a role model yourself. It's okay to tell your child, hey, you know what, I'm angry and I need some time to myself.
Okay.
And explain to them in age appropriate ways why you're angry, right? So the emotion itself is okay, but what you also model what you're doing with that emotion. Say I'm angry and I can't be having a fist fight with someone if I'm angry.
Right.
Right? So to educate them how to manage their emotions, how to express their emotions appropriately.
Okay.
And even before that, to even just name their emotions.
Emotions. Okay. How when boys cry, we are like, you're a strong boy, come on.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you
Yeah.
like, we don't say don't cry, but we are like, come on, you be a strong boy, Nirvan.
Yeah.
You're a strong boy.
Yeah.
So that itself, I think it's not allowing them to.
Exactly. The implied message is not to cry.
Right. It's so inbuilt, I think, in our
Yeah.
systems that
Yeah.
even today, like, it's not like I'm not open to my son crying, but it automatically comes.
No. So can we be curious instead and say, hey, you're crying. What happened? Can you tell me what makes you cry? What's going on for you? Can we be curious instead of, judging them or telling them what to do and what not to do? And be so prescriptive about emotions.
Right. What has been your biggest lesson learned from working with mothers in your practice?
Fill your own cup. That's something I think even I did not do. In retrospect, when I think back, I could have done a lot more. So I think it's very important to take care of yourself while you're taking care of your baby.
Okay.
In all the little ways that you can.
Right.
But women are more into, when can I get back to work? And, sharing notes with other mothers, comparing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of that, spend time with yourself. Nurture yourself while you're nurturing your child.
Right. Yeah. I think that's something that did help me is not comparing,
Yeah.
my baby with somebody else's baby the same age and be like, oh, he's like thinner than that baby, or things like that, and being worried about it.
Correct.
So I think that really helped me, because I can
Yeah.
imagine living like around people and then constantly being reminded, even if
Yeah.
you're not thinking as a mother, you're reminded that, oh, how come he's so
Yeah.
lean, or oh, how come he's not crawling yet, or things like that.
Right.
So
It just leads to worrying and then overthinking, and one thing can lead to another.
yeah.
And a small worry can snowball into anxiety unnecessarily.
But if mother is going through something like that from people around her, not just one statement,
Right.
but continuously.
Continues.
Yeah.
I always tell my clients, go back to your pediatrician. That should be your source of validation, not somebody else. Go back to your pediatrician, check your child's well-being with the pediatrician. And if they are giving you a green signal, then you don't need to be bothered with what anybody else says. Trust your pediatrician.
Right.
Take a second opinion if it comes to that. But don't allow all this to, flood your mind, because with a child there's so many things to do. Like you said, there's barely time to even take a shower.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to be doing is getting validation from others. Right?
Right.
And usually mothers today have read a lot of books. You know what the milestones are.
Yeah.
Every time you hear something from your joint family, I will not say it doesn't affect you, it does.
Yeah.
But please go back to your pediatrician.
Yeah, that's really useful, because I think they give you like a range of, from this, it's completely okay. I do that actually myself, right? Sometimes when I start doubting that, oh, is this normal? Is this okay?
Correct.
I ask my doctor and he's like, it's completely fine.
Absolutely.
And that moment I'm like so relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is one piece of advice you would give to new mothers navigating the challenges of motherhood?
Like I said, self-care is so important. Don't neglect yourself. Think about yourself, think about your baby. There's nothing to feel guilty about. Sometimes mothers feel guilty, I'm not able to do this, things that you would, other responsibilities at home.
Yeah.
uh, or the relationship with the spouse takes a back seat. There's, don't burden yourself with unnecessary guilt. Take care of yourself, take care of your baby, build your systems. Support systems are so important. Focus on your internal support system. Say, somebody is very good with time management, so hey, that is a strength that you already have, which you can use, make best use of when your child is born. And yeah, it's simple basic things, Deepika. It's not anything out of the blue.
Yeah.
It's giving yourself permission to take rest when you want to, sleep, and not burdening yourself with unnecessary guilt. You can't wear multiple hats at the same time.
Right. That's what but mothers do, or rather try to do, I think,
Yeah.
in the early days.
Yeah, but it's okay to tell yourself, hey, I'm going to prioritize, and I may not be giving a lot of time to X, Y, and Z, and that's okay. Because today I need me, and my baby needs me, and my plate is already full, and it's okay to slow down, and I can't have my cake and eat it too.
Right.
It's okay.
I remember when I was asked, when I was pregnant, somebody asked me, so what will you do of your work? I said, of course I'm going to continue, just as I am going to, working like right now, I'm not going to leave anything.
Yeah.
Because I saw my mother always working, right? So I aspired to be her. But along the journey, the more I learned about parenthood, the more I realized that, okay, this is what my priority is. And because I accepted that before the birth of my child, I was so much more relaxed.
Yes.
Had I not accepted and had I not realized that my work will slow down, I think it would have taken a toll.
Yeah, because then it comes at a cost of your health and your own well-being. And like I said, when it comes to work, to each his own. However, I don't think it should come at a cost of your own health.
Right.
I mean, I think health should be a priority, especially during those initial few weeks and months.
How can listeners connect to you and learn about your work?
So I work with Anna Chandy and Associates, and we are based in Indiranagar, Bangalore. So you can reach out to the office at annachandy.com. You have all the details there, and I work with my colleagues. We are a group of counselors. We have our COO Deepti Chandy, who's heading the organization.
Personally, I would like to share that during my journey, I did, come to your firm.
Oh, really?
To get help, yes. And it did help me. It made me realize a lot of things. I have never taken therapy before, right? So for me to accept that, okay, let me try, itself was a big step, which I had to take because I could not find any other way.
Correct.
Right? So that was like the dead end for me, that, okay, if this doesn't work, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
But it did work. It took some time.
I'm happy.
Yeah, it did work in a lot of ways. And I think that is what also made me realize how I can channelize my free time in taking care of myself.
What if you had taken therapy earlier and not waited till the last nth hour?
Yeah.
Do you think that would have been useful for you?
For
would
sure.
you advise your viewers from your own experience?
Yeah. So I feel like everything comes to you when you really want it, and at the right time. If I had taken therapy before, I feel like, because the kind of person that I am, I would not take it that seriously.
Okay.
Because I reached a stage where I really needed help. Every word coming out of the therapist's mouth was like gold, and me looking for, like, how can I fix this? right? So I took every word very, very seriously. The first thing was to acknowledge that I'm going through something like this and I need help.
Right.
And after that, it became way easier,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before that, I did not even know what was happening with me, what
Yeah.
was wrong with
Yeah.
me. If at all there was something wrong with me, maybe this was common and this is how mothers are supposed to feel, right? You hear a lot of people telling that, okay,
Yeah.
motherhood is difficult, it's tough. You know, initial months are very difficult and you kind of accept it.
Correct.
But yeah, I had reached a stage where I don't think it was normal. So that's what made me take therapy then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy it was useful for you.
Yes, yes. I think it was useful also. I feel like a lot of times maybe you don't connect with the therapist, right? So you should look for other therapists.
Yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I don't want people to just go for therapy and be like, no, this is not working out. If it's not working out, maybe the person is not right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. A client therapist relationship can vary, you know.
Right.
And again, one size does not fit all. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with the therapist. Sometimes you don't connect, the way you would want to connect as a client and a professional. So, like you said, it's always better to look for another therapist than do nothing about it.
Right.
Yeah. If you're experiencing any of these mental health symptoms, not being able to connect with your baby, crying, worrying too much, and there's excessive overthinking, you don't have support system and don't know what to do, and you see these symptoms going on for more than 4 weeks, please contact your gynecologist or seek help.
Komal, if somebody is really looking out for help, right?
Right.
Or rather feeling a certain way and they know that they are not okay
Right.
and things are not normal with the way they're feeling, what should she do?
So I'll say first do the basic checks. Start, at least taking out 5 minutes, 10 minutes for exercise. Take care of your nutrition. Like I said, try to get sleep. And if the symptoms still persist, and they can persist for various reasons, say some nutritional deficiency, some vitamin deficiency, or hormonal changes, I will say seek help. If symptoms persist for more than 4 to 5 weeks, that's the thumb rule. Seek help. And like you were mentioning, sometimes it's not possible to seek help. Maybe there are some family constraints. Go speak to your gynecologist. Don't sit alone, dealing with it by yourself. Speak to your friends, speak to a family member, speak to a doctor. Seek help.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, you can't be magically doing everything, taking care of the baby, taking care of yourself. After a certain point, if the symptoms persist, it is an indication that you need an additional support.
Why is therapy so expensive?
Our education is expensive, and there is something called supervision, and therapists themselves need to take therapy. We pay for our supervision, we pay for our ongoing education.
Okay.
That itself is and some therapists are also maybe breadwinners of their family. So I think just like any other profession, therapists also need to earn so that they can provide for their family. It's only fair. And the limitation is you can do only so much work. You can't see n number of clients a day. So your work is restricted to a few clients because you have only that much bandwidth, which is why.
Right.
Yeah.
I also want to highlight one thing. I used to think as well, right? Why is therapy so expensive? But I feel like if you're able to use the session in a way, in the
Yes.
right way, you can unlock 100 times
Yeah.
your potential.
Yeah.
And then that expense is not going to be.
And I don't look at therapy as an expense. I look at it as an investment. That mind shift, if it happens, if you're going to look at it as an expense, it's going to pinch you. But I think it's an investment because you're learning about yourself, You're carrying tools with you which are going to remain with you for a lifetime. So the ROI is endless,
Right.
right?
Very well said.
Yeah.
Komal, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Deepika, for having me.
And thank you for sharing all these expert advice with all the mothers. I'm sure if mothers are watching, they, look at you and feel a little bit calmer and more relaxed.
I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.